It oftentimes can take quite a bit to get me out of my comfort zone of what I'm used to playing and just overall genres that I enjoy. Thankfully, a few years back, Two Point Studios was able to do this with Two Point Campus, which I sunk countless hours into working on challenges, achievements, just overall enjoying every aspect of it. Now, a few years later, we have Two Point Museum doing much of the same, albeit a little more refined, a little more dialed back, but just as enjoyable as that first go around I had with the series. Two Point Studios says, I would say, mastered sort of the city building management style games into a more toned down experience. Where with most of these experiences, I tend to get overwhelmed. Two Point Museum is really focused in on just a few key assets to help you along your way and really bring your attention to specific areas. You're tasked with building museums, obviously. And that's everything from building layouts, staffing, what kind of exhibits are displayed, stores inside, gift shops and cafeterias, stuff like that. You have full control over layout, who's employed, wages, theming with wallpaper and flooring and building layout. And Christmas morning joy when you find a new exhibit or find a new creature to bring back and just finding out what it is or what it does. These themes range from stuff like archaeology and space exploration and aquariums to ghost hunting. You're out collecting spirits and haunted objects and bringing them back. And each of these have subcategories you can further increase your knowledge in, or having them placed together will increase buzz, is what they use for it, kind of the hype factor for that. The exhibits, I would say, are really kind of the bread and butter for casual players as far as growth goes. As I said, it's really exciting to see what you get as you progress and what you're unlocking to place in your exhibits. And it goes from really basic things to goofy and wild really fast. Things like fossils, you start with basic dinosaur bones or footprints encased or amber pieces that have bugs inside, to, oh, it's a giant floppy disk encrusted in stone, or a giant refrigerator and a block of ice that cavemen pop out of if you melt it. Just really goofy stuff. And it's always exciting seeing what's new because the ideas are endless. That's what I've really enjoyed with the Two Point series, right? Because it takes these basic mundane ideas, but cartoonizes them and makes them goofy and fun and exciting. One of my favorite things has been going through the aquariums and seeing the different type of fish in there. There's the tiger fish, which is just actual tiger body on the front head of a giant fish that swims around. There's a bullfish that's a giant bull, same thing. The silent swimmer, I think it's called, deadly swimmer. It's essentially like the Grim Reaper. It's a fish that looks like it's got a hood on with beady glowing eyes behind. And then you get to things like the paranormal investigations where you're out collecting haunted equipment and there's a haunted doll you can place whose head always follows the camera in the museum as you're working. So out the corner of your eye, the head will be spun around looking directly at the camera still. Or you're out collecting ghosts to have as exhibits. You pretty much build them little apartments to live in to cater to their wants and needs or what kind of theme they came from. If they were a knight or a pirate or a drowned entity or something. It's really unique and it adds a new layer of skill, I would say, but also just micromanaging. Because instead of, oh, this is a base item you place that naturally brings in guests, these are actual entities you need to make happy, and you'll have to send experts in to talk to them as like a counseling session so they don't rage out and try to escape. It's so fun exploring and finding out what the team has added next. I will say with Two Point Museum, I was a little let down overall coming from campus so soon. Campus in total featured 12 levels, I believe, off the rip, with Museum only featuring 5, which, yeah, number wise, quality over quantity could be better. But I found myself quickly understanding why. A lot of the exhibits overlap with each other, where say for the ghosts, for example, there may be a famous spirit that also requires a marine expert to capture or go out and look for and help manage. So the different themes are intertwining more so than people would probably expect coming from the older games, and it requires a lot more overlap as far as progression goes. On top of the 5 levels, there are also a handful of challenge levels where it'll give you a starting layout, set money, set kind of rules you have to follow in order to get the most amount of either customers coming in through your museum or trying to find a famous item that's based off of a movie that's currently in theaters in universe. Just weird little challenges that, while they add an extra level of challenge, that's pretty much it. They're a one and done thing. I didn't find myself really returning to them outside of going for an achievement. Um, it's more so testing your knowledge of different parts of the game, when to level up staff members, what's the best rate of sending them out on explorations to bring artifacts back, how do you get the most bang for your buck and kind of min-maxing the experience. They do force you into them early on just to get your feet wet essentially. And you may return once or twice, but overall, they're just kind of there as additives, which I feel they're there because of the lack of overall levels. As I said, the 12 to 5. You can only assume the game after time will have DLC added onto it. Campus did and added, I think, 2 or 3 more themes of schools, so you would hope Museum follows suit. But that is in the future. But now, the backbone of your museums relies on your staff, and that's a mixture of experts in the 5 themes I mentioned before, security, janitors, and assistants. And these help for things like managing ticket desks, refilling vending machines, security especially, placing cameras around the place. They're scoping out thieves who can just straight up jack some of your exhibits, sometimes return them for a profit, but sometimes, most of the times, you're just gone without and have to go back out and re-find or rediscover lost items. The staffing is, I would say, the more financial aspect of it. You're managing people's wages, what they want to earn, happiness that way. As your staff grows in level, they earn new training spots, so you can send them to a new training room in the museum for things like upgraded skills, making guest happiness higher, making them move faster. Experts can learn things like survival, which helps on expeditions or sometimes required. Things like janitors learning to fight fires is a skill. So it's managing how many of each sort of type you need for your museum size at the time, and growing naturally as you get experience, as you get levels and more income. Because I found myself multiple times almost close to bankrupt where the game's popping up a warning of, hey, do you need to fix this or take out a loan? Something along the lines to keep yourself going. And it's not like you're going to reach a game over. It's just a little extra stress that they're going to put on you till you get things back in check. Do you need to sell a couple things? Do you need to adjust ticket prices or cost in the gift shop? The overall gameplay loop is essentially expanding your museum by getting new exhibits in and training staff. You do this by selecting different areas on the map that have different qualifications. So say you need an expert level 5 and a janitor level 3 to go to this location. They'll go off for a set amount of time, come back with one of a handful of different options depending on the location, and over time, the more you visit that location, the higher quality chance items you have of getting in return. So you want to keep going over and over, not only to get the initial item to display for the time being, but then also deconstruct them for knowledge, which increases with your visitors and their overall happiness. Obviously, get to level 3 for that zone, have all pristine items displayed from that area. More money, more knowledge, it all rolls into one. My time with 2 Point Campus so far has been entirely on the Xbox Series X, which has been okay, I would say, so far. It's probably where my biggest gripes come with the experience so far. At the beginning, the game is very fast, very responsive, very snappy. Everything works like you want it to. But I think with a mixture of quick resume and the amount of programs and just data being logged on the back end, the game rapidly starts slowing down unless you close out of it and reset every so often. There's multiple times in a play session where if you hit X, it brings you to your kind of bottom row of menus to manage buildings and items and shops and stuff like that. That just becomes unresponsive. I'm unable to access it for a few minutes to just to requiring a restart. I've had a couple things with the planes you can purchase to go out on expeditions. If you're playing in sped up mode, there's kind of a fast forward to make things go quicker. Those get stuck, or staff members get stuck underneath them, and you have to naturally wait for them to get fired or quit because of lack of resources, or they're just tired, and then kind of forcefully make the game remove them by overlapping a building on them to destroy them. It gets really weird. Which I understand the type of game it is, especially when you get to my ghost hunting museum. I think has 7 buildings on it right now, maxed out, and I have 3 different planes going on expeditions, playing sped up over time. That's just a lot of data being logged on the back end with Smart Resume between days and sessions. I could see where that gets messed up. I just wish it was more, not necessarily thought out, but brought up to the player's attention that this could happen, because I remember experiencing it in Two Point Campus as well. The Two Point series overall, I feel, is really strong with welcoming new players in as a genre, really. As mentioned, this usually isn't my thing, but it's so easy to become invested with this series and just fall in love with the goofiness and zaniness of it, that it's really a good stepping stone into things. Like I said, it's a more focused, fun, goofy thing that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not trying to be some top of the line PC experience that you need to dedicate hundreds of hours to understand. It's a very fast paced pick up and go, knock out a couple expeditions here or there. If you want to take the time to fully design layouts for your museum and do theming to sections or set it up in a really convoluted way, you can do that. If you want to be like me and just place down random stuff, maybe change the flooring here or there to match a theme, go ahead. It doesn't make any difference. Overall, my experience with the Two Point Campus has been nothing but a joy, and I struggle to find it not making my top 5 games of the year already. This was, if you go to our older videos, one of my most anticipated titles coming into 2025, and I'm happy it's delivered in every way I've wanted so far, albeit with a couple hiccups. But I'm excited to see how this series grows, what kind of DLC gets added. I'll be ready and waiting for it whenever it happens. Till then, I'm putting Two Point Campus at probably a 4 out of 5 for us on our scale here. Like I said, it's nailing everything it set out to be and what I wanted it to be. It's just those couple technical hurdles on the back end, which hopefully get ironed out over time. They are constantly doing updates. I've seen them mention the planes getting stuck issue and working on that, so hopefully those things get ironed out. But until then, 4 out of 5 sounds good for us, and I'm happy with every minute I've spent in my over 39 hours so far with the game. If you are at all interested in checking out Two Point Museum, it is available right now currently for Windows PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S, with a Nintendo Switch 2 port brought up at their reveal events. So if you're waiting for new hardware to check this out on, that may also be an option for you. Till next time, thank you so much for stopping by this video. If you enjoyed what we're doing here, drop us a like, follow, comment, share, whatever it is down below. Continue to stop on by, check out our weekly podcast, The Download Queue, here on YouTube or all major streaming platforms as well, to hear our further thoughts on everything we're currently playing. Till next time, happy gaming.